Here's the newest launch from Natasha Denona, her Roxa palette or Roxa palette. I think the confusion comes because Roxa in Portuguese means purple, and this palette screams purple. I mean, look at this gorgeous case. It's stunning. But I have heard Natasha herself calling this palette Roxa palette too. I mean, I think Natasha was born in Croatia and raised in Germany. I don't know if her parents have any kind of Latin root or they are from Portugal. I mean, I have no idea, but I have noticed that some eyeshadows from Natasha Denona from different palettes, they at times they do have Portuguese names as well as Spanish names. I mean, Latin languages nonetheless. But anyhow, friends, here to what is the Roxa palette from Natasha Denona. So excited for this because she hasn't been launching any kind of like very colorful palettes. Needless to say, no purple palette since, well, the first one was the OG, the purple palette, then the lila palette, and then what, the love palette. Don't you worry, we will be going into swatches and comparisons with those eyeshadow palettes too. This palette is available right now at Natasha Denona's website, and I do have a discount code with Natasha Denona. No, this video is not sponsored by Natasha Denona, and no, this palette was not sent to me on PR. So, I mean, like one day I will be on that quote unquote bracket. I'm sure it will happen, but regardless, I will be leaving the details where to find this palette on the description box along with the links for your convenience and the discount code too. This palette comes in the midi format, and if you don't know, on the back of this midi palette there are these pink holes where you can poke the eyeshadow pan and then you can interchange the eyeshadows and create your own palette, very unique to you. This palette is made in Italy and it costs $69. But now let's open up this palette. I love love the compact. Oh my goodness me. Look at this. Look at this beauty. This palette has a lot of purple. I know a lot of people were saying, like commenting that this has a lot of pink, but I see a lot of purple tones here. Violet, lilacs. Yeah, I do see it. There's a little bit of pop of pink, but not too much. We're gonna see in a minute. Oh my goodness, so beautiful. If you're new here to my channel, welcome to all of you, my beautiful friends. I do film in natural light in 4K resolution, so make sure you tap on the screen and you will see somewhere on the screen a little gear. That's where you change the resolution to 4K, and that's also how you find the YouTube shop where all the products from my makeup, this palette will be there too. Okay, ready for the swatches? Oh my goodness. This palette also is featuring a new few formulations. We're gonna go first with the shade Dixie. Oh my goodness. This has a flip. I can see pink, lilac, white, yes, it's like a frosty tone. This is a crystal sparkling warm pink and blue and purple specs. Wow. Jacaranda is her new matte formulation, is a silky matte, which is supposed to give you full pigmentation without kickback, which I'm like, whoa, you are promising quite a bit, Natasha. See? Okay, that was nice and smooth. I never go into swatches thinking that this is how it's gonna perform on the eyelids, because otherwise I will say like, oh, that looks patchy. No, we need to see as I apply it on my eyelids. I'm just gonna build it up a little so you can see the intensity of it. Going next into Flatter, which is that sparkling wet formulation. Have another silky matte shade, and then I think this one is metallic. Flatter is sparkling wet effect lilac pink. Phoebe silky matte lilac. Regal metallic vintage rose. Going into Eclipse. Oh my gosh, the pigmentation of this is crazy. Okay, Star Girl. And then look at this beautiful zebra-like design. I didn't want to mess it up, but we had to. That's so pretty too. Heather. Interesting that Heather is a warm tone. Eclipse silky matte deep purple. Stargirl sparkling foil duochrome pink with a bronze champagne chip. Bold sparkling foil. Graphic design violet and silver. Heather is a silky matte coral. Cerise Silky Matte, Sweet Pea Silky Matte, Concord Sparkling Foil Medium Violet, Velour is also a Silky Matte, Bring a Sparkling Foil Pink, and Orchid Silky Matte Medium Purple. Here are the swatches inside the room, and now you're gonna see them under the sunlight. Look at the chip and the sparkles and the depth of each shade. Sonia G Classic Crease and the shade Phoebe. And I'm taking this shade above the crease. And let me tell you, this shade on the pan is quite deceiving. You may think that doesn't have a lot of pigmentation. It does have a good amount of pigment. It totally does. It's more of like a light mauvey tone. Look at my fingers. All stained. My goodness. Zoom S33 brush, and I'm going to Eclipse. And I'm going to take this shade and applying it on the outer third in very small amount. And then I'm just going to blend the edges and build it up little by little. See, it carries a lot of pigment. Sonia G Builder Pro, and I'm gonna go to Velour next. And I'm gonna take this shade and applying it kind of like on the middle of the eyelid. Going into the shade Regal, and I'm gonna apply it on the inner third of the eyelid. This is a metallic shade. I'm dying to try this shade on the eyelid. It's so gorgeous. So I'm just gonna take it on the middle of the eyelid. Yes, this shade, just stunning. This shade is just so beautiful. Going with a Star Girl, I'm gonna apply it here on the inner corner. Wow, that is intense. I'm just gonna diffuse it a little so it doesn't look like too much, and whatever is remaining is going my brow bone. PK Beauty 204 brush, and I'm going to Phoebe, and I'm taking this shade and applying it on the lower lash line, just diffusing it. Sonia G Flat Definer and the shade Eclipse, and this is going very close to my lower lash line, like to the roots of the lower lash line basically. And here it is, the first final look. Talking about reflection, I cannot decide between this shade or this shade for the next eyeshadow look, because look how wet this look. Oh. Decisions. I mean, it looks really good here, but in an eyeshadow look, like in a full format, I don't know, friends. Well, you know what? Let's go ahead and get started on the second look. I'm gonna go with the shade Sweet Pea, and I'm working it above the crease. This shade is not as cool tone as Phoebe. Phoebe is more true cool tone. This has a little bit of warmth in it, a nice lilac tone. Next, I'm going with the shade Velour, and I'm gonna dust it off on the outer third. Interesting, these two shades, at least on my skin tone, they look very alike. You know what? Let's go for it. The shade Jacaranda, and I'm taking this shade and applying it on the outer third of the eyelid. Going to Brink. I have to. I'm just gonna, where do I apply? It's going on the middle of the eyelid. So beautiful. But this one is definitely more of that pink shade. I have to go with Bold. It's like a zebra kind of shade. Looks gorgeous. And I'm using a Smith 253 brush. Let's see how it goes with a brush application. And this is going on the inner third of the eyelid. You can see only the purple side. You know what? Let's just apply with finger, because I think that is what's gonna give that, you know, like shift to this shade. That's so beautiful. Now, like I said, I'm not convinced of this shade with this other shade together. Now, this one is very crumbly, so be careful. Just going to intensify on the middle of the eyelid. Let's go for this shade and apply it right on the center of the eyelid over top of Bring. Okay, friends, here it is, my second eyeshadow look. Before I tell you what I think about this eyeshadow palette and the new formulations, let's go into a few comparisons. Let's go first with the Love palette, which is also a midi-size palette. I'm going to put it side by side with the Roxa palette. I mean, this has a lot more pinks in it. Let's just try a couple shades just to see, just to give us a little bit of context here. Just swatch this shade. This is way more coral. Perhaps this one, it could be a little closer in terms of the shade. And then, no, this is way more purple. I mean, it's another tone of purple, definitely, but not, yeah, not the same one. And this is lighter. This shade is really pretty, actually. Yeah, this shade Dream is super pretty. Then we have the Lila palette, one of my very favorite palettes. But if you notice, the Lila palette is kind of like has a couple pops of purple, a couple pops of fuchsia, but the rest is all like warm tones and cool tones. I mean, it's a beautiful palette, but it's not truly like a lilac palette or a purple palette. It does have more variation for sure, but yeah, it's a different kind of take on lilac and purple. It's more of like a palette with pops, right? Of pops of shades. I'm just trying to find something I like, if anything, which there's not that many, or none, I should say, because let's also consider that Natasha Denona has been developing so many new formulations from her new wet eyeshadows, which are not wet, they're not cream formula, but they just give that wet effect, sparkling foils, this new silky matte formulation. They are very different to what they used to be before. Talking about what it used to be before, this palette is so breathtaking. This is one of her first palettes, the 28 palette in purple. We have a few shades that perhaps so beautiful. My fingers are fully stained. Okay, I'm gonna swatch, like, for example, this shade, which is gorgeous, but these are more of like traditional formulas in Natasha Denona's terms. I say it that way because honestly it will be unfair to compare it with other brands, because Natasha Denona, from the beginnings, she had a very strong, unique formulation, so avant-garde, ahead of her time. I mean, look at this. This palette has years. Just look at the swatches. Amazing. So, what I think about this palette. Okay, first and foremost, you have to be a purple eyeshadow lover. You have to love the shade, because this palette is going to give you that purple eyeshadows everywhere. Yes, you have some coral tones just to give a little bit of like variety in there. But other than that, I mean, like, the two eyeshadow looks that I created, they are different, but both of them are just so purple. That's what they are. Now, in terms of this new silky matte formulation, yeah, there's no kickback. Look at this. You cannot see kickback from those matte shades. They are well packed, yet they are velvet, exactly as she described them. Super blendable, full of pigmentation. You can diffuse them if you want to, or you can achieve full on pigment. Thing that I personally appreciate, because obviously is going to cater for various skin tones, like for those who have deeper complexions and those who have lighter complexions than mine. This shade here, oh, I adore. And then this shade here is so gorgeous. Like, they are just mesmerizing, stunning. making of the palette so worth it. And this shade is stunning too. I just need to find a way to play with it completely solo. I'm super impressed about the shade Jacaranda because, oh wow, if you really translate purple, even at diffusing it, it didn't lose its pigmentation, that shade. I mean, like, it's just gorgeous. If anything, this palette, I personally would rather have seen, instead of these coral tones, something a little bit more on the brown, eggplant, aubergine kind of tone. Although this is on the aubergine side, but I think it would have anchored the palette a little better than coral tones. That is just a personal preference. But in terms of performance and what you can do about this palette, it's just so beautiful. Again, if you're a purple lover, Natasha heard and she delivered. This is the palette, and her formulations are spot on. I mean, you're receiving here metallics, sparkling foil, wet eyeshadow, and a silky matte formulation that it is for everybody. I mean, you don't need to be an expert, you don't need to be a makeup artist to make this work. Awesome job from Natasha Denona. I mean, look how beautiful this looks. It's just stunning, incredible. So anyhow, my friends, I would love to hear from you. Is this palette you think that will be for you? Are you excited for it? Are you planning to pick it up? Let's continue that conversation in the comment section down below while you're at it. And if you haven't done so yet, you're always invited to subscribe to the channel. Make sure you ring that post notification bell, because otherwise you will be missing my uploads. And friends, I have over 1,000 videos in a span of 5 years. I have worked so hard on my content, so you don't want to miss any of my uploads. If you're also on TikTok or Instagram, it would be amazing if you can come and follow me there too. And if you're not done watching my content, if you want to see what else is here on my channel, I will be leaving a couple other videos at the end of the screen that I'm sure you're gonna love. I have everything from makeup, fashion, lifestyle, blogs, shopping, hauls, I mean, you name it. And if you like the video, give it a thumbs up, share it with family and friends. See you in the next video.
Já não vejo mais meus horizontes.